Well, it's Sunday, and welcome. It's the fifth day of October. Well, we just have a short time left before we conclude the year 2025. So much has happened. We have achieved quite a lot for the year, and most definitely, there is there are much more that we will achieve before the end of this year. Some would be negative, and some would be positive. If I should talk about the positives that we have achieved as Guyanese for the year 2025 so far, is that we have secured the country's safety and security and progress, continued progress. We have secured that. We have another 5 years extension on our prosperity. God has favored us again and realized that despite the few, despite the few who continues to make us look bad, despite the few who continues to cause Guyana to trend in a terrible, horrific, negative way, the universe realized, God has realized that, hey, the majority of the citizens deserves what's best. They have earned after surviving generations of torment and generations of poverty, after surviving the almost total annihilation of the Burnham regime, after surviving all the attempted robbery, attempted murder, negative publicity, international shame, after surviving all of that, the universe realized that Guyanese deserves the era that they can enjoy a future that may not cause forgetfulness, but at least a future where all Guyana can know what it's like to live like a first world citizen. When I talk about a first world citizen, I'm talking about the opportunities that are available in the first world, the so-called first world, like America, the UK, and Europe. Guyanese deserve that, and the universe and God realizes that yes, they deserve that. Let me say this to you. I'm a teacher by orientation. In other words, I understand the discipline of teaching. I understand the approach of dissemination and making sure that the students or the recipient get the full picture. I'm not a slam bam, thank you, ma'am kind of guy. I'm not a get to the point, quick fix kind of guy. This is why a lot of you have problems with your mechanic, because a mechanic only deals with the symptoms of the problem. Most of them do not trace the root of the problem, which may take time. They just get to the symptoms, and then you drive away, and after a few hours or a few days, you have to go back. Or some doctors, oh, you got a cold, take this. They're not going to go to the cause, the symptoms. I mean, the cause, the root. That takes time. That takes careful introspection, careful investigation, and it takes time. So while sometimes I may have a caption like Aubrey Norton exposed, if I should start a program and say, well, Aubrey Norton exposed because they realize that he's still ugly. That's it. How much seconds is that? 10 seconds? Would that be satisfying? To a lot of the women, is that satisfying to you? When a man just get to the point. Is that satisfying? No, you don't want that, right? Do you? You want him to take his time to explore every inch, every corner, to sing all the nice romantic tune, to be Shakespeare, to be Barry White. You want all of that before he get to the point. This is what social media has done. Social media, mainly TikTok, has reduced the attention span of people. That's dangerous. So anything that is beyond 30 seconds, they're bored. They want you to do everything you have to do. They want you to read the book. They want you to build the ship. They want you to finish the sex scene, all of that in 15 seconds because they do not have a long attention span. That's what you call programming. Then when the time comes and your children can't retain attention for one session, they fall asleep in class, they get bored, they take their phones, they rebel against the teacher, they want the class to be over just so they can get on their phones and get on TikTok and scroll down 10 5 seconds videos, and that is satisfying to them. When that time comes, and it is already here, are you going to blame social media that they have reduced your child's attention span to 30 seconds? I mean, 30 seconds is long. 15 seconds? Just because you want to hear what you want to hear within 10 seconds? You think it took 10 seconds for your mother to conceive with you? You think that's how quick your father was? No matter how quick a man is, it never takes 10 seconds. So cut all that nonsense. If you're interested in following the show, if you're interested in being a part of what I have to say, stay tuned to the entire show. There are many areas, many topics I have to cover, many issues I have to relate to. This is not a news program. And even news programs don't get to the main item until the end of the news because I want you to stay tuned to get the catchy phrase that they have. I'm having discourse with my followers, with the nation of Guyana, and the diaspora. I choose to present it how I choose to present it. You have to know if you have the attention span, you have the patience. If you don't, then go back on TikTok. That's the videos for you. Or the reels in Facebook, which is like, well, that's long. The reels are long because it's more than a minute. But if you're a 15 minutes person, then you don't belong here. Go to TikTok. That's why a lot of you are so dumb. You can't read a book. You can't finish a paragraph. You can't finish a sentence because it's too long. You're bored. Gotta be quick. Take that into your relationship and see what happens. Take it. See what happens. Now that we have the people who are really here to observe information, to learn, and to follow me faithfully, I'm going to talk to those. Now, when people look at me first impression, like they open their eyes, they see a guy coming, they see a man coming. What do you think they see? Christian man? Well, some people assume that I am. A Hindu, Muslim? That will be decided based on my appearance in terms of my clothing. But if I'm just where I am, just natural, the first thing they see is a Negro or a black man. That's the first thing they see. Nothing else. If I speak, I start to engage them from the tone of my speech, from my accent. Then they would want to ponder, what country is he from? So the two things that matters to the public is One, they see a black man, and two, what country is he from? So when I leave my house every day, I leave bearing those two facts in mind. I represent a nation and I represent an ethnicity. I can identify with whoever I choose to identify with. But the only way the public will know that is if I pronounce verbally that, hey, you may see me as black, but I did identify as this. But the first reaction is black man. The second is, what country is he from? I take cognizance of that from my speech, my actions, that despite the fact of my private pronouncement, publicly, nobody gives a shit. Publicly, they see a black man. So whatever my actions are in public, it can either be judged in favor or against the black people. That's basically it. If I'm good in public, it is credited to the black people. If I am bad, it is credited to the black people. Whether I like it or not, my actions will have an either negative reaction or a positive reaction, impact to black people in general. In the same way, if my actions invites the law or the media, they will say a black man from Guyana. So I not only put the black people at shame, I put the country Guyana to shame. Because those two in the public is what I'm perceived to represent. So I always have to bear that in mind. When people get to know me, then they understand what my identities are that I have adopted. Besides that, nobody gives a shit. I may be one of the only persons who feel this way. I ran into a lot of people, not just in Suriname, many other places. And I can tell that they are of Guyanese roots, but they blatantly misrepresent that, deny that. They always use the fact that they have socialized or they were raised in Guyanese community within their country. Therefore, they have this kind of mannerism about them because they are embarrassed. They're embarrassed to be identified with Guyana. Even now. And regardless of the efforts that has been made, regardless of how hard we have tried, regardless of how I have criticized and continue to criticize the way Afro-Guyanese are representing Guyana, apparently it's going on deaf ears. Why? Because these people are already grown. They are grown adults. They are fixed in their ways and they are professional scammers, professional crooks. You can't reform people like that. I've said it before. Criminals cannot be reformed. You just have to jail them and forget about them. They can't be reformed. Your only hope are the children. Let me get right into it. You have seen the news. You're on TikTok, you're on Facebook. A lot of you who live in America and the UK, you will have seen that, you would have followed the news. And it is a breaking news of this Guyanese man, this fake doctor, Ian Roberts, who it has been revealed is a terrible, terrible, terrible person. Before all of this deep dive, this FBI information became public, you had people the same way they were protesting for Melissa Atwell, that criminal, the same way they were protesting for this Burke guy and this Benchcom guy, all these criminals, the same way they came out and they protested against the Trump administration, saying that this man was racially profiled. The same thing with this Melissa woman, racially profiled, making the rest of the world, or the rest of those onlookers, harbor sympathy because the public had lacked information about these people. They had factions in Guyana who were already trying to lobby the Irfan Ali government to rescue this man, who then went by the name Dr. Ian Roberts, because he was being targeted and stigmatized and profiled, and he's going to be deported to Guyana. But this giant of a man, this son of Africa, this Guyanese hero, this very well-educated man, this superintendent, this man who shaped 30,000 public school system children in America, this great soul, already trying to lobby the Irfan Ali government to, when this man arrived from deportation, he should immediately integrate him into his government so that he can get to the Ministry of Education and fix the system. Already harboring support for that. And who would have been the better persons to champion that? The PNC, apnu. They would have been the better persons to champion that. Their pundits already started pushing propaganda and pushing things so as to, make the situation seem so sensitive that the government had to do something about it, because this man was targeted. And he's Guyanese. Suddenly he's Guyanese. That's before the real information surfaced. But that is how willing they were. That is how willing the anti-Ali, anti-PPP, pro-PNC people were to endanger, to trick, to trap the future and the progress of the education system in Guyana, putting somebody like this Ian Roberts to get involved. That is the risk they were willing to take. And they always do that. And when the shit hits the fence, oh, it's the government, it's corruption, incompetence, they can't do their job. But they're the ones who were pushing for it. What came out? That this is not a racial identity stuff. This is not racism. It is not based on profiling. It is not based on discrimination. It is based on the fact that this criminal, this man, Ian Roberts, who's not a doctor, he's not a doctor, meaning he doesn't have a doctorate, he doesn't have a PhD, he has nothing. He's a fraud. Fraud. It came out that that fraud, that criminal fraud, that hustler who does what those Negroes do, like Rickford Burke, Melissa Atwell, Mark Benchcom, and all those PNC apnu pundits, what they do, they prey on the innocent, unsuspecting white people, Indian people, and whoever else they can get under their claws to exploit them. That's what they do. And this Dr. Roberts guy was a master at that. For years, he lived a fraudulent life. Nothing about the man is real. Nothing about the man was real. And sheltering, he was sheltering under the umbrella of racism, discrimination, and being housed and promoted by the Democrats in America, the side of the aisles that pushes these kind of practices, that covers the crimes of criminals just because they're against the system. He lived a life of fraud, taking advantage of the kindness of the same people they always accused of being racist. Those are white people. Took advantage of the Indian Guyanese community, promoting himself as this elite, successful black man. The facts that came out, and a lot of you need to understand that you need to channel your emotions where it is necessary. Use your emotions when it is really a cause that you should. But in the cause where you have issues that are there to expose or incriminate people like Burke and Atwell and Benchcorp and all these other people, and now currently we have this Ian Roberts guy, you don't use emotions for them. You use anger and disgust, disdain for those people. Your emotions are well used to celebrate happiness. But towards those people, anger. Because if you are an Afro-Guyanese and you consider yourself decent, you consider yourself law-abiding, you consider yourself successful because you went through the legitimate means to get where you are. If you consider yourself somebody like that, you should have no sympathy whatsoever for that Ian Roberts guy. No sympathy whatsoever for none of them. They're all criminals. The man is a scam. The man was deported since 2024. Ian Roberts, who fraudulently secured the superintendent position or the chief education officer. In Guyana, it will be like that. Under fraudulent means, who tricked those women, played on their emotions, flirted with them. God knows whatever else he did. And used the race card, played the immigrant migration struggling card to get the position. That was not the first time he played that role and was able to overpower and seduce and influence unsuspecting white people to give him a break. And every time he failed, he was deported in 2024 by Joe Biden, not Donald Trump. Joe Biden in May of 2024, his administration, his immigration administration, issued by a judge, a legal declaration, permission to get that man out of the country. It was issued. He received it. You have to leave. They gave him a chance for him to voluntarily leave. But instead, he became a fugitive and continue on his lying tracks. It wasn't Donald Trump. The man was already an illegal alien. He lived in the US as an illegal alien, never had a green card, was never a resident, was never a citizen. He lived illegally all the time he was there. This is why he could not have left the country. He couldn't have left the country, because if he had left the country, he was not going to be able to get back in. So all his life, since leaving Guyana, he hid in the US. And instead of taking advantage, not to break the laws, to live according to the people's laws, no, they do what Guyanese do best. Black Guyanese do best. They go somewhere and they just mess it up for themselves and the others. Because the same man that you are offering emotions for, sympathy for, he's a criminal. He was convicted of dealing drugs, cocaine and other drugs. He was convicted of that. He faced jail time for that. He was deported back to Guyana. He re-entered after 5 years on a so-called student visa. Then after he re-entered, he was arrested again for guns, illegal firearms. What's this thing with black men and guns? No matter what countries they are, they go, Guyanese men, black men. It's always drugs and guns. What's this thing with you guys, man? Do you take pride in just being illegal in your actions? Is this a thing? Don't you think about your actions that affects your country? Forget the country. You claim that you are Black Lives Matter. You claim that you are no Uncle Tom. You claim that you are all for black people. Then can't you consider that effect you are having on the nation of people that you claim to be proud of? Every time you are breaking the laws in people's countries, you are making black people in general look bad. And especially Guyana. You look at Guyana's situation, whenever they have issues with guns, robbery, guns, it's always a black man. It's always black men. Illegal firearms, illegal firearms. What is this obsession with illegal firearms, black men? What is the obsession? Even though there is no threat to your life and security, you still have to know you possess an illegal firearm. What? So you might have an opportunity to rob somebody and steal? Or you think somehow that somebody wants to take you out? Look at this Roberts guy, this Ian Roberts guy. When he was arrested for illegal narcotics, he also had illegal firearm. He returned in the US, illegal firearm again. 2020, illegal firearms again. And recently, this month, this a week ago, when ICE was going after all the persons who already had legal, who the courts in America had already given the order for them to leave the country. Their names were in the system. The government knew where they were. So the government went after them. Ian Roberts is one of them. All over the world, different countries is not targeting Guyana or black people. If you are illegal in the United States and you commit crimes, you are the first persons they're looking for. He has a long criminal record. So when they pursued him, they do their traffic stop and they realize, okay, that's the guy. What did he do? He ran from the police. He parked the government vehicle and he ran. He escaped. Typical black people. Typical. And this is a man in his 50s, 54-year-old man. Wanted by the immigration system, saw the cops, stopped by cops. He didn't stop. He drove by, parked his vehicle and ran away. And that's the kind of man that was overseeing the moral and educational life of over 30,000 American kids. That's the man who ran from the law, who was illegal, who committed crimes. That's the man that they were betrayed into trusting. And again, while he ran away and they searched his vehicle, what did they find? Illegal firearms. They went to the home that he resides. They searched his house. What did they find? 4 illegal firearms. A superintendent, a chief of education of that state. What does he want with illegal firearms? With guns, so many guns. What? His life was under threat. Was there an active threat over his life? No. But because he was a criminal and he was in the drug business, he was in a cocaine business, and he knows the ties he still has, his side hustle, he has side hustle. All the side hustles were illegal. That's why he had to have illegal firearms. And the reason why he could not have gotten a legal firearm, because he was an illegal alien. And if you are not a citizen, you can't have a gun. You can't have a gun in America if you're not a citizen. This is the man that the apnu people championing for and are pushing the government to help out when he arrives in Guyana. But guess what? He ain't coming, because with all the convictions over his head, he's going to spend a long time in prison in America, federal prison in America. Then, maybe after 20 years, if he's still alive, he might be deported after. But this is what continues to happen. The innocent blacks, Afro-Guyanese, who are not privy to information, who depend on people like David Hines, Rickford Burke, and all of these PNC pundits, who depends on them, put their trust in these people to disseminate information that are credible, only to have them share information that is corrupt, lies and lies and lies, to make the Indo-Guyanese look like racists and the white people look like racists, when at the end of the day, the people who are destructive, damaging, and more racial than anybody else are the blacks themselves. That's the facts. Those are the facts. Those people covered for that man, knowing that he's a deadly danger to society, expose their children around him. And the next thing I want to say about people like that, who is also a good friend of Burke, is that that man, Ian Roberts, lied about his family. He doesn't even have kids. Lied about everything. Information suggests that he is homosexual. Information suggests that he is. When I internalize the thoughts, then I realize that would explain the pink ties. That would explain the gay fashion. That would explain it. Because real men don't attire themselves like that. And the hairstyle the guy has. Makes sense, right? Because from court records, they had an issue with him when he was associated with some council, just like the Burke guy, some council. They're always in some council, some black council. He pushed for a play in a school that involved a trans dress code. You know, they got these guys who dress like women, what do they call them? Cross dressers. Yeah, cross dressers. He pushed for that. For the male child, the boys, to be able to perform in that kind of trans kind of thing. And it created a backlash from the parents to say, no, 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 no. We trust the teachers to send our kids to public schools only to have our sons trans indoctrinated. The Roberts guy wanted that. He was pushing for the trans stuff. Makes you question again. Why was he so obsessed in being around public schools? Why would you go through all of that just to gain access to children, boys and girls, in a public school system where they are more vulnerable? Because the public system is a system whereby nobody gives a shit. Children are more abused in the public school system. A lot of predators. Allegedly, he was one. And you wanted that man, after all the stain, to come to Guyana, to be deported to Guyana, to put your young kids under his control? Don't you have enough homosexuals in Guyana as it is? Don't you have enough trans in Guyana as it is? You want more? That society is now infested. Guyana is infested with a high level of homosexuals. So many down low or low down or hidden or whatever shit they call it. So many in high places, and most are Afro-Guyanese. Let's say blacks. Most. Preying on your children. They're embedded in the school systems, in the sports sector, embedded. Then the next thing you know, your son coming home and wants to wear a skirt. You want to bring more? With the presence of the churches, they have not helped to redefine masculinity or femininity. They have not helped. They are accommodating all of these abominations. They are accommodating it. Jesus loves everyone. Where did it says that? No, you're bringing criminals, people with questionable past. I am sure, let me tell you this, I am sure if this Melissa Atwell woman didn't have the troubles she has, that she's afraid to come to Guyana in fear that she might end up in prison, if she didn't have all those things over her head and she had returned to Guyana under the WIN campaign, I'm sure she would have gotten a lot of votes from those Negroes. A lot of votes. A character like that, they would have been willing to gamble on to put in the sacred house of the parliament to represent them. But they do it all the time. Look at the case with Ajruddin Muhammad. They know who he is. They were warned about who he is. They were begged to pay attention to the risk they're taking if they join this man's camp, if they voted for this man. They were told that, but they didn't give a shit. Because at the end of the day, crime sells. Criminals are the way to go. So nobody cares anymore. Now those same people who stood behind and pushed and seduced a lot of the Afro-Guyanese to vote for Ajruddin Muhammad, those same people are turning their backs on him. Why? Because they suddenly felt love for Ali? No. They're still PPP haters. They still hate President Ali. They turned their backs on Ajruddin Muhammad because I told you can't trust them. I warned you, right? Didn't I? As long as you have some money to offer, you get the black support. But when that stops, when that funds dries up, you see the real Negroes. So apparently, Rickford Burke didn't get his cut from WIN. All these others did not get the agreed amount because apparently WIN is saying, how could we get this money to you? We can't get this money to you because no bank is going to transfer it, and I can't get anybody to bring it to you, and you can't come to Guyana. So I'm sorry, I can't. It's not my fault. That's what Ajruddin is telling them. Hey, it's not my fault. I can't get the money to you. And they're telling him, but you didn't say that before the deal. You said you could get it to us because you got 35,000 and more to this one. So yes, it's your fault. Now they can't get money. Now they can't get their money from Ajruddin Muhammad. They turned against him. Rickford Burke turned against Ajruddin Muhammad. Melly Mel, they turned against the guy because that's what they do. They are disloyal, they're ungrateful people. You can't trust them. I am glad that the PPP did not make any deals with them. I'm glad the PPP did not make any deals with them. Look what they're doing now to Ashuri Muhammad. All the attacks now that are coming out, all the news that are being spreading, all the fake news are coming from apnu people who just a few months ago were quiet or speaking in favor of the criminal billionaire. Now they want him out. Now they want to get rid of him. Now they're joining my plea not to swear the man in. Imagine that. I'm the only one who's consistent. I'm the only one who said the guy's a criminal. Don't swear him. Don't swear him in. Now they're joining me because they're repeating stuff that we already know. The Americans are coming after him. They're repeating. We already know that. The whole country knows that. The whole country knows that when the federal indictment comes down, you're not busy with that. There's no public knowledge to say that the feds are busy getting indictments for Ashuri Muhammad. So that's a lie, Rickford Burke. That's a lie. There is no public knowledge to that. No press release whatsoever. The only information that you're speaking on, Rickford Burke, is what came out of Reuters, what came out of the State Department. That's the only information. There's nothing else after that relating to the sanction case against Muhammad. Nothing else. So Burke, you don't have anybody at the feds to tell you shit. You're just venting your disagreement or your disappointment because you ain't get paid. All them people like you and the Melly Mels and all them people, you don't have information. You're lying. Whatever you're pushing is what we all know. There is nothing else there that further incriminates the man. Nobody's telling you anything. You're not that special. What do you think? Trump is going to call you himself and say, hey, push this out? No. There's nothing there. You're lying. It's fake. You have an issue with Muhammad, sue him. He didn't pay you, take him to court. It's private. Why you want to fight the case on your page or fight the case in public? It's a private matter. Nobody told you to join the man to make a deal. That's what happens when you make a deal with the devil. He never fulfills his end of the bargain. You should have known that. The man got elected thanks to you. He got what he wanted, but not yet. So Hannah Muhammad, the sister of Azruddin, if you want your brother to be sworn in, tell him to appoint you instead as opposition leader. Then it's still in the family. You know, tell him to appoint you. You know what's better? Tell him to appoint your husband. He's not a Guyanese citizen, but you know, the courts might go in favor. GCOM might go in favor. So do that, because I don't think he's going to appoint any black people. And there's no Indian in his party. So the only hope he has is you, Hannah Mohammed. Tell him to appoint you, and then you will see how fast the parliament will be convened. You'll see. Then you will know if it's against your brother. But you cannot order President Irfan Ali. You are known. You are nothing. You just happen like your brother to be born in a family of corrupt businesses and practices, and you got some money, and now suddenly you think you're gods. You're absolutely nothing. Shameless. You should have just enjoy your riches and stay quiet. You know who make noise? Poor people. Rich people don't make noise because they don't want to bring attention to their riches. They're quiet, especially when they're corrupt. They don't look for attention. Now you're sounding like that idiot Ian Roberts, that fake doctor without a doctorate. Oh no, I have one. I do. But you see me bragging? I wear my cheap suits and my donor ties, and that's what I do. Nobody funds me. You think if I was getting 300,000 American dollars a year, that's about how much? About 20 something thousand a month. Wow, look at that. 20, about 26, around that a month. If I was getting 26,000 American dollars a month, you wouldn't see me on social media. I would be the most invisible person you can think about. I want nobody to know that. You kidding me? You wouldn't see me. You're seeing me because I'm broke. You think you'll see me when I'm rich? No, you wouldn't. I can promise you that. I want nobody to know that I'm rich. Quiet. I won't be wearing suits. Mm-mm. I'll find the cheapest jeans and I'll buy my t-shirt from a Chinese supermarket. You would never know that this guy has money. But now I don't care. I ain't got money. So I can pretend to be rich with my cheap stuff. That's what the Roberts guy was doing, distracting people from his moral crimes, wearing his cheap suits from the innocent taxpayers of America. And that's what you want the Guyanese to do where your brother is concerned. You want us to fund your brother's lifestyle. So when he's opposition leader, sworn in, he gets almost 2 million Ghana dollars a month. Plus he gets duty-free concession. Then he can sell the Lamborghini for the real price, and he can import another one, zero taxes. He can import a lot of stuff because now he has duty-free concession. Is that what you want, Hannah Mohammed? You want a Lamborghini too? You want your brother to use his connections and bring one for you? Is that what you want? Not at my expense. Take your hands out my pocket. No Guyanese is going to fund the lifestyle of your brother. Let him pay his taxes. All them hampers that he's giving out, all them food hampers he's giving out, is not his money. It's the taxpayers' money, and that is giving you a preview of things to come. Imagine he can take the taxes he robbed the Guyanese people and pretend he's giving out food to those hungry belly who source him. Pretend he's giving out food to them. Those hungry belly lowlifes who voted for him. And he's a good guy. If the man is so patriotic, let him settle his debt. Let him face the criminal activities. Let him face justice. That's what you do if you are a good Muslim. Muslims don't rob the government. One of the things Muslims don't do, they don't lend money on interest. If a Muslim is going to lend his brother some money, he wouldn't take interest for that. That's the Muslim way. Muslims wouldn't build your house and hold your transport. So he ain't a Muslim. If he wants to be a good Muslim or a good Guyanese, the first thing he has to do is to pay his back taxes. He has to confess to the crimes he's accused of, pay the back taxes. I'm talking the billions that he has to pay in back taxes. Pay it off, clean his slate, withdraw himself from this sham of a political win, withdraw himself from that. He should go and do, what's the name they call it in Islam? Where they go and they spend a long time and they pray and they fast and so on to be cleansed from their wicked ways. He should spend 7 years doing that. At the end of 7 years, he'll be mature enough to start a new plate, a new slate, then he's a good Muslim and a good citizen. Then, but for now, Hannah Mohammed, let him appoint you as the opposition leader, and maybe the parliament would be convened. If you think that he is so special that the parliament is not convened because of him, then let him take advantage of his being special. But my fight today was not with you or your lunatic brother. No. My issue today is to let the Afro-Guyanese understand that those people who claim to represent you are not representing you. They're selfish, they're unpatriotic, and they're evil people. They're taking advantage of this whole slang about racism. There is no racism. The racism is them. The opportunities that the Afro-Guyanese get in America, they won't get it in Africa. Or no country where there's a pro-black coalition. The opportunities that they're getting in Guyana under the Ali government, they have never secured that. Not in the Barnum time, not in the Hoyt's time, and definitely not 2015, 2020. They are ungrateful people, and they only play the race card to play on people's sentiments and to have people feel a sense of fake guilt so they get what they want. But not this time. See them for who they are. If they are criminals, you treat them like criminals. So whenever these people are deported back to Guyana, understand that they are criminals. They committed crimes in another man's country. They embarrassed your country. They humiliated your race, and you should not have any empathy for them whatsoever. The people you should see with are those people who were forced out of Guyana because of a racist government under the Barnum regime. Those are the Indians and the Chinese and the others who were forced out of the country. They were bullied out, they were threatened out, and they had to leave because of their security and their fear of living in the country they were born in. Those people you should be sympathetic with when they come back home. But all those blacks who went away and committed crimes in America, drugs, guns, murder, all these things, scamming, and they get caught and deported, why would you want to reach out an olive branch for them? No, treat them like the scums and the junkies they are. They don't deserve your sympathy. You should understand that. Do good for the good citizens of that country. If somebody represents Guyana overseas and they come back, you treat them like heroes. But if they put Guyana to shame and embarrassment and they come to the country, you don't treat them like that. You just cast them aside. Be careful what you associate with, because that energy you're bringing onto yourself. Think with those two things. Like I said before, my actions reflects an entire nation, Afro and Guyanese. So I try my best to take responsibility and to make sure that I don't do anything stupid to make the country look bad or to make the race look bad. And since there's so many people that are hanging on to my credibility, I have to consider that too. It is selfish not to think about the consequences of your actions against your nation. So don't rescue these people. President Irfan Ali, when President Donald Trump and his government deports these people, please send them to Ecuador, not Guyana. Because they come there, they're going to further infiltrate the society, and we don't want more homosexuals. We don't want any more. So tell Trump, President Trump, you can send them to Ecuador, or house them at Guantanamo Bay, or send them to Kenya. Let them go start life back in Africa. Leave Guyana for the Guyanese. Well, have a good day. And I'll see you again next time. Remember, your attention span should not be limited to 30 seconds. Think with your future. Don't think with just today. And thinking with your future means you have to think 20 years into the future. And then your actions now is going to determine if you're planning for 20 years. But if you're thinking like those typical Negroes, they think they have a short attention span. They're thinking just for now. So they go to steal, they rob, they corrupt, they scam, they do all these things. And then tomorrow they regret because they didn't think with their future. Their short attention span. No, plan ahead. That's the Guyanese way. That's the Indian way. Until next time, goodbye.